You're sitting completely still, strong determination sitting, no moving. So you sit completely still for like a full hour, and your body like settles into like a stillness where it doesn't move, which is amazing, an amazing feeling. And while you do that, let's say you feel back pain or you feel a little itch on your face. So what happens now, you feel the itch on your face. Normally, in normal life, for a normal being on this earth, when you feel an itch on your face, you scratch it. Okay. But doing Vipassana, you learn not to scratch the itch. Okay. And that is basically the essence of Vipassana. If you sum it up into one thing, it's like, if you have an itch, don't scratch it. Just fucking observe it and it'll go away, which is the crazy thing. And it's the same thing as with pain. That's the craziest thing, is that you have back pain and you have this like real burning pain in your back because you're sitting upright for an hour and it starts to get really bad. And what you do is you just observe it, and you observe it without aversion or without craving. And you just feel it. You feel the pain more and more. And then you realize that the pain changes into something else. It's no longer pain. It just becomes another sensation. And then the sensation goes away completely. So you realize that it's anicca and it's impermanent. And so at some point you have no pain. And you're sitting completely still for an hour with no pain, cross-legged, straight back. But the body is made of these little kalapas, which are in the Buddhist term basically subatomic particles. And that the body is actually not solid matter. And it's actually, in essence, vibration. Science has proven that realities of subatomic particles that are not stable, they're always changing. They're always anicca, they're always impermanent. So impermanent, like a pain is impermanent, it comes, but it always goes away. And also the actual sensations that you're experiencing and the atoms are like vibrating at a very rapid rate. And they're changing all the time. That's impermanence. That's anicca. So they're vibrating, they're coming into being, going out of being. It's just all impermanent vibrations. And so the point is that the meditator, according to the Buddha's teachings, becomes experientially aware of themselves as the truth, which is the quantum field, basically. I mean, it's meditation to experientially realize the quantum field that you are. It's like, this is what Buddhism is.
Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. So Andrew just spent 10 days on a Vipassana retreat, a silent retreat. And this is actually the first conversation he's having since coming out of the retreat. So I am really dying to hear about Andrew's experience, not talking to anybody and doing like intense meditation for 10 days. I can't wait to hear all about your experience.
Yeah, I love it. So yeah, I'm back in the outside world now. The inner world, the inside the meditation center was pretty different. Being silent for 10 days, crazy experience. So a little bit of context, I suppose. This was in a meditation retreat center in Worcester in the Western Cape in South Africa. So only meditation permanent retreat center in Africa. So it's a permanent retreat in the Western Cape, very hot at the moment, 35 degrees around the average every day. Beautiful, beautiful location. The mountains, like gorgeous. It's nestled in the mountains. Incredible. And Vipassana. I didn't know what to expect. I'd never done Vipassana before. I've done like body scan meditations, and that's basically what it is. But it goes so much deeper than that. So, yeah. So
you arrive at exactly. You arrive at the retreat, and then you walk through the gates, and there you enter a different universe. Like how was that? How does it start?
Yeah, so we arrived in a shuttle. 4 of us got a shuttle from Cape Town, about an hour and a half drive from Cape Town. And we get out. First of all, there's a guy sitting there, like wearing like matrix glasses, like with a big hat, and he's just sitting there. And you try to shake his hand, he's like, no physical contact at the retreat center. He's like, no handshake. He's just sitting there, like quiet. And then he's like, you can check in over there. And then you check in, Then it's cool. Then they give you a room and whatnot. And then you have to give in your phone and any valuable, any writing, any notebook, any books or technology or earphones or phone. And they give you a little while to like, they're like, yeah, you can give it now, or you have like a couple hours window before you have to give everything. And then, yeah, you give everything and then they kind of do an introduction. Everyone's nervous. Everyone's just, you're kind of there. Like I was there for like 3 hours before meeting everyone. And yeah, everyone's like terribly nervous. They have no idea what's going to happen. And it's like you're in the gallows. You're about to go silent for 10 days. Most people haven't done it before, but some people have. And yeah, so everyone's there. It's all just normal chatter, nervous chatter. And then at some point, the silence begins, like after 5 p.m. or something. You go do the first meditation. So you go sit in the hall, and the first thing you hear is chanting by this strange Indian man. His name is Goenka, Goenka Ji. And he's a very interesting character. And once you do a Vipassana retreat, you get like initiated into like Goenka energy. Because they show recordings of him every night during the discourse. And he's the guy who started the specific Vipassana thing. He's a very funny guy. And yeah, so you hear this chanting, and I was just thinking when I heard that, like everyone's gonna, someone who's not initiated into spirituality or meditation is gonna think this is so weird. They're gonna be like, this is a cult. This is really strange. It's just Indian chanting, and this guy chants like really weirdly. And yeah, but it was kind of perfect because it kind of like orientates you out of the normal cultural patterns, I guess. But to start it off, what happens, the first thing that you do, so basically you wake up the next day, you do one meditation at night, then the next day you wake up at 4 o'clock, they wake you up with a gong, and then you go to the meditation hall at 4:30, and there's 2 hours of meditation, and at 4:30 in the morning. And then after that, there's 3 group sits, and there's basically like 8 to 10 hours of meditation per day, depending on if you join every single sit. So some sits are like, you have to go compulsory. And then some, like you can meditate in your room or in the hall. And sometimes they say whether the new students or the old students can meditate in the hall or in their room. So it depends, but you do have some flexibility with it. Like the 4 a.m. sit, you don't have to go to the hall, but you have to meditate in your room. You can't go outside. So I was there for every 4 a.m. sit, every 4:30 sit, which I decided I would do from the beginning, just so that I started off well and not just miss 2 hours. And so the first 3 days, basically the whole thing is Anapana meditation, which is just focusing on the breath. So now I'm going to explain the technique and how it works. So first you do for 3 days, 3 whole days, you do focusing on the breath for 10 hours a day, nothing else. And you're sitting on the floor, you got your mats, you got your cushions, you set up like a little cushion fort so you're like sort of comfortable. And it first starts with just the breath, like focusing on the breath, the actual feeling of the breath. And then he tells you to focus on the sensation underneath the nose, like just here in the nose area, like in the nostrils, around the nose and the lip, above the lip. And it's like focus everything on the sensations. And then it's like progressively it becomes less about the breath and more about the sensations on the nose. Okay. Just the sensations on the skin. And so basically what's going on, and you're trying to like find more sensations. So some people don't feel it at first, don't feel anything. You're trying to feel more sensation. And so basically what's going on is that, they use the language like you're about to go and you're doing a surgery on yourself. And so you need to like sharpen your mind so that you can do the operation properly. So by focusing on that small area, you're like, you're sharpening your sensitivity to be able to do the rest of the practice, which is coming after the actual Vipassana. And so, yeah, so that starts and you're kind of, you have to sit there for so long and you're just doing one thing, just the breath the whole time. And I mean, I went through this whole journey, like where I was in so much pain for so many days because I have like a knee injury from playing rugby. And I was like, I couldn't handle the sitting. And I kept having to change my posture like every 10 minutes, change like the cushions and everything. And I was like, this is not productive. I'm not focusing. And that was a huge thing. And I was going to ask if I could get a chair or not. And eventually I didn't. And yeah, but let me tell you a little bit about like the actual inner experience that was going on, because wow, dude, I went through a whole journey, because being silent for 10 days and focusing on meditation the whole day, just trying to be conscious, just trying to be aware and equanimous the whole time. Like you're just trying to be aware and non-reactive. It's yeah, absolutely insane. So at first I was really like disturbed by the physical feelings. And I was like, this is insane. This is really crazy. And um eventually I got into a flow where I started getting really into the meditations, and then really putting a lot of effort into it and not letting myself get distracted like at any point in the day. And then it really started to kick off, because at first I couldn't sit still at all and I was in so much pain. But then once the Vipassana starts, they give you the new technique, which is a Vipassana. And on day 4, they suddenly tell you that you're going to do strong determination sits, which means that you sit still, completely still for the whole hour. You're not allowed to move. You're not allowed to change your posture. So you're sitting on a mat, you're sitting cross-legged, and strong determination sit suddenly comes. And you just have to sit still and not allowed to adjust your posture. And yeah, this is quite a crazy thing. And during the first time they did that on day 4, like 2 people left. They like walked out of the meditation hall and they didn't come back. I went back to the rooms and their stuff was packed up, and they had left during the first meditation. So yeah, but then they start the Vipassana on day 4. So this is like the majority of the experience, 2/3 of it. Where once you've trained your mind to focus on the breath and the area over here, you start doing this full body scan. This is what Vipassana is. Now it's interesting because Goenka frames it as if this is like the true teaching of the Buddha. This is like the true essence of Buddhism. And it's interesting because you also get I got a whole course on Buddhism, like a whole full training introduction on Buddhism. Like, I was thinking at one point, I was like, maybe this is what it was like to be meditating or trained by the Buddha or something. Like when he was doing meditation retreats, he did meditation centers. But also I think Goenka like teaches a specific kind of Buddhism, and it's quite a focused, limited form of Buddhism. But so you do the Vipassana, and there's some interesting metaphysics that goes along with it, bro. Because once you start, so basically what the Vipassana is, I got to just explain so much to get to like, to get into it and to like remind myself of all these things. So yeah, so basically when you start, what you do is you focus on the top of your head, and then like you feel sensations right at the top in the middle of your head. And then you start feeling more sensations around your scalp and then down your face. And you just slowly go down and you do a whole scan. Then you do your shoulders, down your shoulders to your hands, each shoulder, then your chest, then your stomach, then your back, and all the way down, and then your legs. And you go like piece by piece, part by part. This guy is hilarious as well while he's giving these instructions. Like, and it was interesting. The first time after doing the breath concentration for 3 days, you do Vipassana day on day 4. And so he says like, it's like this big lead up to like when you start doing the actual Vipassana. And he's talking, he's doing this whole long introduction. And then at one point he suddenly just says, better to focus now instead of here. Like, it's like better to focus on the top of the head, right in the middle at the back. And as soon as he said that, it was like ding, and I got this tingle right there in the top of my head. And I was like, okay, cool, this is gonna be good. Like, this guy's got superpowers. He just made my head tingle. But yeah, that was like that was like the start of that was like a high point in the beginning, and then the real journey begins. Because this is the most excruciating part, because you have to scan your whole body piece by piece, like inch by inch, and feel sensations. And you have blind spots, you have areas that you don't feel anything. And so you're trying to develop sensitivity in the entire body. And so you basically sit there for the whole day, like just scanning with your awareness every single piece of your body. And like that's on the surface at first. And that is like, at first it was excruciating just to focus on that and to try and feel like we couldn't feel something, to try and get some sort of sensation, to like notice what it was, to observe it. And so eventually though, what kind of happens, what's kind of the point, it kind of builds up into this thing where after you do you try and develop sensitivity of your whole body, like more awareness. And then eventually you start like sweeping. You start sweeping up and down your body. And then you start getting like tingles on the surface. And the point is that there's like, he talks about like a free flow of tingles that can happen. And that's like a sensation that can occur. But really that's not the point. The point is to be aware of your sensations. And then to notice the sensation and be aware of it and react with non-reaction, to not react to it, to just observe it and to notice it and to be like, that's impermanent, that's anicca. So you have all this anicca going on. And he explains that the body is made of these little kalapas, which are in the Buddhist term, basically subatomic particles. And that the body is actually not, it's not solid matter. Body is not solid. Matter is not solid. It collapses. And it's actually, in essence, vibration, or like little vibration, little wavelets. He says little wavelets. And so he says, like, science has now proven that matter has no solidity, and that actually it's these little wavelets, infinite wavelets. And so you can feel the vibration by doing this meditation. Eventually you develop the sensitivity that with your mind, you can feel and experience on the experiential level the subatomic reality of your being and of the universe in your body. And so that's kind of the point. And so, yeah. And so you keep doing that. And then eventually what happens is that, according like how he frames it and what goes on, is that you'll reach this stage where there's certain stages of progression for advanced meditators, or as you do it, where one stage is that you must be able to feel sensation on the entire body, and you feel like tingling. You feel little things. And while you're doing it, you're sitting completely still, strong determination sitting, no moving. So you sit completely still for like a full hour, and your body like settles into like a stillness where it doesn't move, which is amazing. An amazing feeling. And while I was doing that, sometimes my head, if I moved my head, it felt so light. It felt like jelly almost. Like it would just kind of wobble around and then go back straight to the center. And while you do that, let's say you're focusing on your shoulder, trying to feel your shoulder, or you're trying to sweep up and down, and then you feel back pain, or you feel a little itch on your face. So what happens now, you feel the itch on your face. Normally, in normal life, for a normal being on this earth, when you feel an itch on your face, you scratch it. Okay. But doing Vipassana, you learn not to scratch the itch. Okay. And that is basically the essence of Vipassana. If you sum it up into one thing, it's like, if you have an itch, don't scratch it. Just fucking observe it and it'll go away, which is the crazy thing. And it's the same thing as with pain. That's the craziest thing, is that you have back pain and you have this like real burning pain in your back because you're sitting upright for an hour and it starts to get really bad. And what you do is you just observe it, and you observe it without aversion or without craving or clinging. So you have the pain, and normally you reverse to it and you have reaction. So you have aversion and you're resisting the pain. And there's a part of you that's resisting it, and you change your posture instantly. But when you feel the pain and you react with equanimity, which is non-reaction, and you just observe it and you just feel it, you feel the pain more and more. And then you realize that the pain changes into something else. It's no longer pain. It feels like pain on the physical level, but in the body, in the mind and the experiential level, it just becomes another sensation. And then the sensation goes away completely. So you realize that it's anicca and it's impermanent. And so you sit there for an hour and at some point you have no pain. And you're sitting completely still for an hour with no pain, cross-legged, straight back. And yeah. So I feel like that's a good opening. Have any questions or anything at this point?
Wow, that's incredible. That's amazing. Yeah, that sounds wild.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it was such a powerful thing to go from thinking, and I even asked the coordinator first, can I get a chair? Like my knee, I'm like, because I thought I was damaging my knee. I thought
Mm,
that what I was doing for 10 days would cause like knee pain for a long time afterwards and damage my knee,
mm,
which was a bad
mhm.
idea. And I couldn't get over that. And then he's like, think about it for a day. So I meditated for the whole day, every single session, be like, this is my last session. Like, screw this. I'm getting a freaking chair. Like, why do I need to kill myself with the pain? There's still going to be pain with my back. Why do my knee need to be getting destroyed? So I thought about that. Then I asked the teacher after. So there's a meditation teacher as well sitting there. And he's like
So that means
the
that
top
then
of the whole thing.
you break the silence basically to ask a question like that, or do you have like a non-verbal way of
Yeah.
asking
So you
something?
can.
Or
No, so that's a good question. So you can break the silence to speak to the coordinator or the teacher. So you can speak to them limitedly if you're having a problem, because people have serious problems. Like a lot of people wanted to leave, or they like have a serious emotional crisis, and then they like talk to you or the teacher, and you can ask the teacher questions as well. So you can only break the noble silence with the teacher or the coordinator. And the coordinator is also meditating with you for the whole day, in every session, sitting at the front. And he's like a badass, really, really cool guy called Sean. This guy in particular. So and then it's male and female. So the male coordinator is sitting in the front, female coordinator, they're both on the front on either side. And then the teacher's in the middle at the top, like on a little platform. But he doesn't say anything though. He doesn't teach. He's like a representative of the lineage and Goenka. And he plays the recording. So it's kind of weird at first. You're like, this is weird. They're playing like video recordings of this guy from the 90s
yeah,
to do this Vipassana, to give the instruction. And they play the audio while you're meditating to like give the instructions first to start the session. And they play a discourse every night. But then you realize you like fall in love with the guy because he's so funny and he's like very charismatic and he's like a powerful speaker. He's wise, he's funny. So there's a reason that there's like 600 Vipassana retreat centers around the world, because obviously this guy resonates with people. It's very interesting to observe the teaching, how it is like in comparison to other things. But yeah, so you can speak to the teacher but I didn't speak for most of the days, only when I wanted the chair. And then when I didn't, and then I decided I wouldn't get it. So I spoke to the teacher then, and then he said, if I give you the chair, then I'm harming you. He's like, it doesn't harm me, but I'm harming you. So I don't want to give you the chair because I'll be harming you. I'll be taking away from your experience. Is there something you need to go through? And he was right. But coincidentally, like after that, in the next session, I found this new sitting position with one of the bolsters. There's like millions of cushions around. You can set it up. You just have to sit with a straight back on the mat. Some people had like massive towers and different arrangements, but eventually I figured out the sitting position where it didn't kill my knee too badly, and then I could do it. And then after 3 or 4 days, like struggling, like really, like it was excruciating. Then on the 5th day, finally, I did I think it was the second strong determination sit, second or third, and I just did it. I sat for the whole hour. And that first time doing the strong determination, not moving your legs, not moving your hands, keeping your eyes closed for a full hour and keeping your back straight, that felt like freaking climbing Everest. At the end, I was you couldn't imagine that you could do that on the first day because it's so painful at first. And then it's so funny at the end of that that session, I say, okay, take rest for 5 minutes and come back for further instruction. You go outside for 5 minutes, you look at the mountain, get the sun in your face, go back inside 5 minutes later, and then you hear start again. And that's it. Then you do 2 hours more. And like you've just gone through the most effort of all time. And it's like starting. He does this, his accent is hilarious. I don't know if I can do it justice, but yeah, it's just start again. And then you do another 2 hours to sit. And then depending on that specific session, you either stay in the hall for 2 hours or you can go to your room and meditate. or you get
Mm.
a further instruction. So yeah, and being silent, bro, for so long, and you don't, yeah, and you don't make eye contact with anyone, so you're aware of all the people there, and when you walk past someone, you look down. You don't look at them. It's like emphasized, like, do not communicate anyway. Like, don't look at people, don't glance at people, just look down. Um, and I mean, the first day when you go and you eat your first meal, it feels like you're in prison. Like, you've done the meditation, you go sit in the dining hall, and the tables are the tables are like around the perimeter of the wall, facing the wall. So you're not facing anyone. So you sit there and you've got this like small table like this facing the wall. So you're just sitting there eating, facing a white wall, no talking. Everyone's like silent. It feels like prison or something. And it kind of is in a way. But by the second half of it, you feel so good. And you've generated this like subtle vibration and frequency that's going on. And yeah, it's incredible. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay because
Wow.
I felt like it was such a beautiful state to be in. And I was so focused because I also didn't allow myself to to think at all. Like, so, I mean, there's no phone, there's no books, there's no reading, there's no talking. The food is very simple, and you only eat at 6:30 and 11 a.m. And then I fasted from then on. So the old students are meant to fast from 11 a.m. The new students can eat at 5, like a tea time break with like some fruits and stuff. But it's very light. So I decided, when I heard that the older students fast from 5, I decided I'll do the fast as well from 11, because I'm used to fasting, intermittent fasting. So I was basically intermittent fasting, eating very little, no phone, no talking. And I also didn't allow myself to think much. Like, and that really became powerful. I didn't think that I was capable of that, because even when I was lying in my bed, like during the rest periods, I wouldn't think. I wouldn't like actively think. And as much as I did actively think something, like a thought about the future or what I'm going to do afterwards, or an idea intellectually, I was totally aware of the whole, like the range of it. Then I would stop it and go back to the meditation. Because at some point you become so established in the meditation, and the meditation becomes a new habit that you can just tap into. And basically what this is, bro, this is the point. Like, I've been waiting to get to the point. There's so many points that I need to tell you about. But basically what this practice is purification. It's pure spiritual purification. And the idea is that your complexes and your sankharas, as like, like samskaras, in the Hindu and Sanskrit. I think the Buddhist equivalent word is sankhara in Pali. And so what you're doing by being aware of your body and observing it and letting the thoughts come to the surface, and then just staying with your body and the sensations, is that you're clearing out all your sankharas. And the idea is that they're stored in the body. And when you feel sensations and pain, those are actually little sankharas happening on a subtle level. And your body is almost like your unconscious, of your subconscious mind, or your unconscious, or part of your being, your mind. And so when you have a strong sensation emerge and you practice non-resistance, you don't generate a new sankhara. So you karmically clear it, because you don't react with craving or aversion. So you accept it. And then what that does is that clears away that sankhara. And then once you do that, and you're in a state of non-reaction and awareness, and you're allowing things to come up, then what happens is that old sankhara starts to come up and be burned through. That's the theory. That's what they're telling you. So old complexes come up, and you're just working through it and just letting things happen. You're letting it come up. And so you stop creating new, because every time you react to a strong sensation or a strong thought, and you like resist to it, or you cling to it, and you crave more of it, you have an element of craving, then you're creating more fuel for that part of the mind, that habit pattern, to continue. But by doing Vipassana, you're breaking the habit patterns. And it really changes, because the biggest thing that's most noticeable is that you no longer scratch an itch, and you're no longer moving your body all the time when there's a little bit of pain, because you can just accept the pain. And you sit there like, you don't, even when you're eating at the table afterwards or you're lying in bed, you just sit completely still. You lie completely still and you feel a little tingle, little itches or whatever. And you don't realize how often that happens normally because you're always just unconsciously being triggered and scratching the itch. But after a few days of Vipassana, you're like, you're totally equanimous. You don't react. And it feels like nothing can disturb you. And yeah. So that's like a big you can see the change in the habit pattern and the thoughts as well. The thoughts come up and you realize that, so just say a strong thought, like thinking about some triggering emotion or ex relationships or something comes up. Normally that's associated with a feeling, a tightness somewhere. There's a sensation that comes with it. And because you're so tuned into the sensations, you'll have that same kind of thought emerge, but it's less strong now. So the same kind of thought that's been triggering you will emerge after a few days. But now you can feel the sensation is so less. It's such a lighter load. The burden is so less because you're totally in control of your body and your sensations.
Mm-hmm.
And so I noticed at one point, like sometimes I get like when I get anxiety, I have this like heat around my head, top of my head. You know, like some people, you get like a tension in your stomach or something, or a rising heat in your head. And I noticed on, I think like the 9th day, I got that feeling, that little bit of anxiety for some reason. And instead of reacting on the level of the thought that caused it, I reacted on the sensation level. And immediately it felt like that heat, that like hot feeling just started crumbling. That anxiety feeling just like disintegrated, completely dissolved because I observed it neutrally. And it went away, just like the pain in my back actually went away when you just observed it.
Well, I'll talk about the interface between the mind and the body, right? And that there are certain things that can happen in the body if only the proper mindset would allow that to kind of happen naturally. And also the conflux of both the will and the determination, or like your volition, right, in your mind and what you put your mind to, and also something that kind of happens organically in the body as a natural process, as a kind of a dissolution or a relaxation that happens, for which you have created the proper circumstances, but which in itself cannot be willed, right? It's kind of you hand it over to the natural process.
Yeah. And that's interesting. It's like the will, you have the will to observe it and not react. So you have to develop the level of like awareness and equanimity, which is what they emphasize, like the core of Vipassana and the core of Buddhism is awareness and equanimity, those two words. And equanimity means non-reaction. So non-reaction, so not craving and not aversion. And so, but you need the discipline. You need the discipline, and it's work. Like, and he uses the word work. He's like, work hard. He's like, work hard, work ardently, work patiently and persistently. Repeating all these words. I mean, he's hilarious. But it's like, yeah, the word that is used is work. You're doing work, and you're clearing away your sankharas, and you're developing your equanimity. And like the only yardstick that matters is your level of equanimity. So when something happens, you don't react and you observe it, and you don't have like this immediate knee-jerk reaction in the mind. And yeah. And then when you do that, so what happens, what I was going to say as well is that what happens further on in the practice is that this kind of changes the subject, but it kind of goes to the metaphysical level, which is very interesting given our conversation previously about the quantum elements of life, the quantum field, and like the quantum field as opposed to classic reality. And, Goenka uses the word apparent reality versus the true reality. And he's saying, science has proven that realities of subatomic particles that are not stable. They're always changing. They're always anicca. They're always impermanent. So impermanent, like a pain is impermanent. It comes, but it always goes away. And also the actual sensations that you're experiencing and the atoms are like vibrating at a very rapid rate with great rapidity. And they're changing all the time. That's impermanence. That's anicca.
Yep.
So they're vibrating, they're coming into being, going out of being at like a huge intensity. So it's a vibrational field that's basically going on.
It's like impermanence is a fundamental quality of reality itself at its most, fundamental level.
Yeah. Yes, that's what they're trying to tell you. And then what happens after that when you're doing a meditation and you realizing actually you have this apparent level of the body, but actually it's not so solid. It's just all impermanent vibrations, just vibrations or energy. Then with the Vipassana, you can get to the point where you have full disillusionment of the body, or bhanga in the Pali. And that's where the meditator experiences having like the whole body becomes vibration, and then it loses its solidity and you experience dissolution, and then you experience having a non-physical body. And then that's kind of the point. And so the point is that the meditator, like according to the Buddhist teachings, becomes experientially aware of themselves as the truth, which is the quantum field, basically, or the field of kalapas in Buddhist terms, the impermanent field of kalapas. But so yeah, it's meditation to experientially realize the quantum field that you are. You could say, like, you could easily make that connection, which I was thinking. It's interesting that we talked about that before, and then when you started saying this, with that Federico Fagin talk about quantum field and all that. So he was framing it as a science, like a form of science that's about experientially realizing the truth of like the quantum subatomic field.
Yeah.
As Buddhism. He's like, this is what Buddhism is. So interesting.
Right. Yeah. That's fascinating. It was interesting. I was listening to an interview the other day. I can pull up the name, but I forgot. With a guy who has studied the Essenes, right? This religious cult, basically a Semitic group in the ancient world.
Right.
Who are also
Essenes,
said
is that the Essenes or the...
Yeah, the Essenes. Yeah, exactly. And I'm not sure if it's the Essenes or the Essenes.
Jesus. I also don't know. Yeah. Is that what Jesus?
The idea is that maybe
was
Jesus
one
was
of them, right?
Was taught by them. Yeah, and that they were more of a spiritual group, and they're also sometimes compared to Buddhists in their teachings, because they also practice things like renunciation and I think probably this type of awareness and equanimity that you're talking about probably features into what they were doing, and it's the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? That also kind of expose more of their worldview and their teachings, their practices. And what this guy was saying is that basically what they understood also is what we now know with quantum mechanics. That basically you can relate to a certain potential that's in the fabric of reality through your being and through certain spiritual techniques. And so his point was that, like, we think that quantum mechanics is a new thing, that we're only just now discovering that. But really, in the ancient world, they already knew about it through this experiential pathway that you're also talking about.
That's because the way that it happens, what I was starting to intuit or think what's meant to be going on is that when you sit closed eyes for an hour, the world kind of goes away a little bit. And you feel the sensations, and the sensations are the reality that you have access to. And so you start, like, it becomes recontextualized as not just like an itch on your skin. It's like you're just feeling, I don't know. And the mind becomes more and more subtle. So it becomes more and more subtle. And then you feel like very subtle things. And you feel more and more subtlety in this. And that's like the point. It's like, become more subtle. You need a more subtle mind to notice the subtle sensations. And some people, people experienced it. Like there was a guy, the guy on the first day, he experienced the full flow of the vibrations as soon as he did it the first time. But he had done previous Vipassana retreats. And there were also other people. I spoke to everyone. There was a great group of guys as well that were doing it, like absolute legends. And a lot of them felt this flow, or they felt like tingles, in the chakras, in the third eye, or like an expanded feeling going out of the skin, like you expanded, like you're not this big, you're like this big, and there's like an energy field going on there. And these are ordinary guys, like not spiritual guys. No one was as into spirituality as me or you, like that was at the retreat. But they were advanced meditators who had been to a lot of Vipassana retreats. But I mean, these were also like average, ordinary guys, ordinary Joes. There was a 73-year-old guy, 73-year-old guy with a knee problem. He was sitting in a chair. They were young, old, and everyone was doing it. Like only two people did leave. But I was surprised at how effective it seemed to be for people that were basically uninitiated. Some people said they had never meditated before in their life and they didn't know anything about this.
Wow.
And they managed to do a 10-day retreat and have these profound benefits. And everyone at the last day was absolutely glowing. Like, just like speaking. So I did speak to people before. I did speak to people at the end of the retreat. They let you speak to people. And that's to kind of buffer you back into the world. But that was like a whole whirlwind of conversation. It feels like that was like one dream of experience or something. And then the rest of the day I've been silent since then. But I mean, that was also powerful, man. Like relearning how to speak with people. Like suddenly it's like, okay, the noble silence has ended. And you're looking around and like, there's the guy you spoke to on the first day. There's the guy you sat next to every day. And then you like just look at each other and it's like, how was that for you? It's like, no, that was good.
Right.
And then you suddenly start speaking again. And then you slowly, you're a little bit awkward, I'd say, for like, it's like you're like a little bit awkward for like maybe like 5 minutes or so. But then as you start speaking and relating the experience. And then suddenly like energy starts coming out, starts being released. And you start having these like beautiful moments of like laughter or just connection and look at people's eyes and they're so glowing. They're so happy. Because something about the meditation is that as it goes on, even at first it's painful, but as it goes on, you start looking forward to it because you know that each meditation is building your state and keeping you in this pure space. And the pain becomes beautiful. Because after the strong determination state and you go stand outside, like those 5 minutes outside are like the most beautiful. It feels like you've been massaged, like your mind has been massaged, like you've been released, like so much tension has been released, and you've made so much effort to stay like firm and stay in it. And you've actually experienced non-reacting. So you actually experience, so one thing to intellectually understand, like impermanence or not getting triggered by something and not having resistance and like being Zen and whatever, like you can say that, you can like kind of do it a bit on an intellectual level, but to actually experience pain and then experience accepting the pain and not being moved by it, and then experiencing the pain changing to a different sensation that's not pain anymore, and then experiencing it go away, and then you move on to another part of the body, like, and you do that for 10 days and it feels like that's like a real like deep level shift in your mind that really creates like peace, like peacefulness, because then things on your body don't trigger you anymore. Like there were ants that were biting our feet as well, walking from the one path to the kitchen. It's like this little gravel dirt road thing. And most people were wearing flip-flops because it was really hot, or no shoes. And then there were these biting ants, which I've never experienced before. They would come on your feet and they'd start biting you. And by the end of it, at first I was like, oh my gosh, I have to wear shoes like to go to the kitchen because these ants are ridiculous. And they would bite you and like get on like big ants. And that was triggering. But then at the last day, like I was getting bitten by ants while standing there having a conversation and not reacting at all. And like just feeling the pain and just accepting it. And so that happens like on all these different levels. It happens on the levels emotional, like big complexes come up and you learn to just not get triggered by it. And then it goes away.
Which is crazy because if you think about it, if there's anything that sort of there's no way around, is like pain, right? If you have pain, it's like it's right there and it kind of consumes your whole being. If you have a throbbing headache or something, or a back pain, that just kills you. And it's like there's no way around the acute suffering that just comes along with that.
No. And that's why, dude, it's like, it feels like the ultimate hack. It's the ultimate cheat code, life hack. It's like the way. It's like if you have a lot of pain, the pain on some level is psychosomatic, because you can make the pain go away by observing it. Even the pain where you're sitting upright and you've got this muscle tension and you know that your back does not want to sit upright for a full hour, like in a full, like fully straight position. And it starts to build and build and build. And you're so tempted to just do this and just move around. And at first you do,
Right.
but then you don't. But the pain like literally goes away. When you observe it enough, it changes. And so what they train you to do is to also observe things and say like, and notice that it's anicca, it's changing.
Right.
And then like, it's like, just notice on the experiential level that everything is changing all the time. So every single itch, every single tingling thing, every single sensation, including the pain, will change. And then you notice, yes, the strongest pain, even the pain in your knee, because you're bending your knee for 10 hours a day, that goes away. And then when that happens, it's like now you don't have the gross sensations anymore. So you're getting away the gross sensations and you're getting to more subtle sensations. So I found that when the real kind of deeper levels of experience occur or are going to occur is like towards the end of a strong determination set, where you've gotten rid of all the gross sensations, you've become equanimous, you're sitting perfectly still, your body doesn't want to move, you're in like a perfect stillness. And then it's like different. It's different. You're in a different level. You're in a different like mind body like configuration, because your body is just relaxed and your mind is present. And yeah, I mean, I had this one time, like also this one session, I kept falling asleep and I couldn't stop. As soon as I sat down, I started getting drowsy, and I'm sitting there with a straight back, my eyes closed, and I'm fully straight back, cross-legged, and I started having like little dreams, like not full dreams, but subtle dreams. Like I'm seeing things happening, and I realized it's the same thing as a dream.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, I didn't know that I could fall asleep and have dreams while I'm sitting with a straight back, holding my back up and my neck, and there's no back support, and I'm having dreams. And then at this point, I was really motivated. This was like there was a good stretch of days where I was fully tuned in and motivated. And then I decided, okay, well, the sleeping is a sensation, actually. They're always training you to look at the sensation, go to the sensation. So then I realized the drowsiness is actually a sensation, like in the head and in the body. And I just noticed that sensation and I observed it. And then I also started doing the breath. So they say like you can use the breath every now and then if you get tired or something. So I start focusing more on the breath, start noticing the sensation. And after like a good stretch of time, like 5-10 minutes, I start to come out of being drowsy. And then I'm sitting there, eyes closed, and I've woken myself up and I feel the energy come back and the alertness. And it's like, no, that was bullshit. Like you were not actually tired. Your mind was doing something to like, to distract you, or it was some other thing. Cause now I'm no longer tired anymore. Yeah. And to like experience transitioning from dreaming while sitting with your back straight to then bringing yourself out of tiredness with closed eyes is crazy. So yeah.
Yeah. So what was it like to go through the experience with other people present? Because the way you're talking about it's like you're very much also sort of in your own space, and like you don't look at people, you don't talk to people, you're doing your own thing. You're eating your meal against a white wall on your little table. Is there any added value or meaning to the fact that, you are going through this experience with all of these other people? Or could you just as well do it on your own and have the same experience? What do you think?
I think great question. I think for sure there's definitely value in doing it with other people. It's an incredible feeling. Like everyone's there going through it together. You can feel everyone's energy, and you can sense that some people are going through things and they're really struggling at some points, and then people hit like a flow and you can see like they don't move anymore. Like everyone went through a journey of moving a lot during the meditations, because that's your agitated mind basically. And then at some point you notice, okay, that guy is sitting like a stone Buddha for the whole day and he's like figured something out. He's changed. And so Yeah, and like you notice it, and also everyone's vibration gets really heightened. So the conversations today were like somebody was saying that when you speak to people outside in the world, it's like everyone in here now after 10 days together is in like a state of like a high vibrational state kind of. And he was describing it as everyone's able very in tune with their complexes and their emotions. So you're able to tap into something. Whereas ordinarily people are going about life and they have their suffering and their complexes, but it's like on the surface and they're not aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone there in the last day, I mean, communicating with people after that was profound because everyone's so open and so
Mm-hmm.
like also raw, like, and just this depth of awareness and also this like shining glow with everyone. Um, and so that was very, and I feel like the group vibration was powerful. It's quite an experience. It was very positive. I mean, the discipline, it's feeling like doing something that like it was one of the hardest things I've done, and sticking with it and doing it felt like actually doing it like every moment, and like your mind changes. Feeling that was very, very, very satisfying. And then after that, like for a good 3 or 4 days, it felt like, man, it felt like I was so light, so light walking around, like, and not like in a, like feeling really good and beautiful and the connect and like aware and present and light, but not like overly not like energized with thoughts or something or a lot of intense energy. Like there was no thoughts. So I'm walking there, I'm feeling amazing and I'm not thinking. I'm not like building my state up artificially with thoughts or with music,
Right. Right.
or with conversation or with getting into like a some sort of thing where it's like this artificial like revving myself up or being like, wow, that tree is so beautiful. Like, look at the tree. Like the tree is infinite, and imagine the tree, the beautiful universe is manifesting as a tree. Like all those thoughts, but instead, I was just like in a state, and it felt like this natural state of natural vibrations of my body and my being was just there. It's amazing.
Incredible.
And that was one of the things that he said that why they don't recommend mantras like saying Om or Ram or chanting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is because, and they say don't do any chanting. Normally people chant, they have a thing of saying a word with the breath, like Ram, breathing in with the breath. And that was a tough thing. That was actually one of the harder things for me to actually stop saying the Ram mantra, because I've been doing the Ram mantra for a long time, just like RAM. I've been doing that for a long time, and it'd be like a habit to just go and do it randomly. And walking around, I had to stop. So all I had was the breath and nothing else, just the breath. And I didn't allow myself also to think any kind of spiritual thoughts or to like try and be in the witness or the self or like non-dual. I deliberately didn't allow any of that. I just did the breath and the body the whole time. And it was interesting because there was no talk of the self. There was no talk of the witness. There was no talk of non-duality. Um, and also the other interesting thing was that there's no, they never say you must become thoughtless or don't like try and have no thoughts. They never said that. So while you're focusing on your breath, it's not like focus on your breath. And when a thought distracts you, like you don't do it and you want to have no thoughts and come back to the breath. It's more, and I asked the teacher this actually. Well, I asked a question that he responded to it as I said, what do you do with the complexes that come up? So first I asked, how do you get to the deeper complexes? Because now I was really like hitting a flow, and I was like, I want to get the deeper stuff to come up to the surface. Because so many things were coming up, random things, random memories. I mean, you feel it. You feel memories from like years a year. Like, wow, I've never. Did that even happen? Like you've forgotten about it so much. And things just come up like crazy. And I asked him like, how do you get to the deeper complexes? And then he just said it's about the level of equanimity that you have, that the level of non-reaction and self-control, mastery that you have, that will happen. And then he said, and then I said, what do you do with the complexes once they emerge? Because they didn't really explain that. Like, are you supposed to let them go? Are you supposed to think about them? And maybe there's like something comes up and you're like, oh, this is the solution. This is what I need to learn from this or something. Or do you just let it go? And he said, no, what's meant to happen is that it's in the background. So he said, Goenka doesn't say to be thoughtless. He never said that, did he? He said, like, you're doing the thing and it's what's meant to happen. It's the scientific procedure of clearing away the sankharas. So you're focusing on the breath, you're doing the body, and the thoughts come up and they're in the background. They're just happening while you are doing the meditation.
Right.
And that's meant to be the case.
You're
and it's
not
different
doing
when
anything.
it's like that versus exactly. But there's a difference between those thoughts coming up or those emotions coming up versus active thinking, like going on a certain thought trail. Because those just kind of
Right.
come up and they come up as images as well. Like they're like images in the mind. And I would have images of faces and like people and just feelings. It was like almost like dreaming. It was almost like dreaming in the background. You can feel that it's in the background. It's not in the foreground.
It's just like a little process
amazing,
running on your
guys.
computer, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's like a disk defragmenter. Yeah. Hardware cleaning. Dude, it was like fucking the mind refinery. Like refinery of the mind. Like, yeah.
So
That's how
I
feel,
would
like
ask
10 days
you,
at the mind refinery.
right. Well,
Yeah.
incredible. Thanks so much for sharing all of that. I would ask you a
welcome.
final question to wrap things up if that feels right to you, unless you want to still elaborate a little bit more. But of course, we've been having a couple conversations now about things like the meaning crisis, about the state of our culture today, you know, kind of like the spiritual poverty in our culture as a consequence of secularization happening, etc. So now having gone through this 10-day retreat, you know, like doing actual praxis instead of just talking about the theory, it's like, how do you relate that back to some of the things that we've been talking about? Like, have you come to any new insights or is there anything you've learned? Like, what is the relevance of something like this? Can you bring that into relation with each other?
Yeah. I did think about that a little bit. I tried not to think though, because I was really serious. I wanted the full experience. So I tried not to think about everything that I've been thinking about. But like, yeah, no, definitely. There's a huge relation. There's a huge correlation. It's massive. It's a huge revelation, bro, because now I feel like everyone should do a Vipassana retreat or everyone should meditate, and do a retreat. Like the effectiveness of it is extremely amazing. But one thing was that, one thought that I had very soon was that I realized all my thoughts about everything, about like the universe and like my intellectual thoughts, on some level, they're all like BS in a way. There's some level, there's like a level of like untruth to it, of like it's a thought, it's intellectual clinging and it's stuff. It's like ego forming of ideas and worldview. And, you know, I've had that insight before, like on acid, I've had that strong knowing that you've got these ideas, this tower of thoughts, and like, that's not true right now. Like, so that became an apparent thing where there was like a level where all those thoughts became less relevant. And that feels amazing. That feels like a clearing away, you know, like it's a reset. It's like, there's probably some like old gunk in there. There's some things that I'm clinging to, some ideas about the world or about religions or philosophical points that I'm clinging to so hard that I'm craving onto, where actually it's really just about my ego and what I want to be true or what I've like somehow attached myself to. So yeah, I feel like the practice is immensely important, and this technique of meditation and the actual, all I can say on that is that meditation is effective, and doing Vipassana retreats would be a brilliant thing if more people did it in the world. If there were more retreat centers around, became a more common, normalized thing. It's phenomenal. And I saw it on ordinary people, the effect that it had on people that had never meditated before and they had never heard anything about spirituality ever. And they did the retreat and they had the full experience. And it changed them for life. It's a life-changing thing, I think. I think it's a certain insight, a level of insight and experience that's like, you won't forget it. Or it'll allow you to change your behavior significantly. And it felt like, therapy, it felt like doing the same thing as like therapy or something, but more effective in a way. You know, it's not like you can have either or something, but there's that saying like, well, it's better than therapy. You know, this thing or that thing is better than therapy, but it's like, it's that kind of thing And I mean, I'm surprised Vipassana hasn't taken off more as a thing for productivity, for um, for people to become more effective and productive, because it literally it changes the whole meaning of the word discipline. Like, because you're not trying to force yourself to do it, like you were talking about earlier. The interesting thing between the will and the acceptance and just observing, because you realize that you're trying to have like self mastery, and you you're not, when you're trying to be disciplined at work, you're like always trying to force yourself to do it. And there's actually like an aversion to, there's an aversion and a craving going on element. It's not a non-reactive thing. It's not a genuine desire. So there's a difference between desire and attachment as well that they speak about. And so, yeah, I don't know how I would tie it all into the meaning crisis. All I would say is that, yeah, people should meditate and do the Vipassana retreats, I guess, do meditation retreats. There should be more retreats. And one thought that I did have on that is that I thought, you know what would be great is if Europe brought back the culture of monasteries, and there were monasteries in the world. And there was a place where you could go and be a monk or a nun, and also be a scholar, perhaps, like they used to have at various points. And that could be a solution maybe in the future, like maybe in like an ideal future in a long time. Part of a resolution to the meaning crisis was that there would be monasteries in cities where it was a thing that you knew, and there was an option that you could go to the monastery and generate that high vibrational state with your fellow men and women. And also maybe, I think cool combination would be being a monk and also a scholar like it used to be, because then you're actually producing value for society as well, aside from your own liberation and your own vibrations.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah,
there's like the monks on Mount Athos, you know, like the Greek or the Orthodox peninsula in Greece, where there's hundreds of monks who are, you know, meditating, praying around the clock, and have been doing that for 10 centuries. Basically, they're like praying to the Virgin Mary for world peace, you know. And there was once a documentary filmmaker that went there, and then he was talking to one of the monks, one of the fathers. And then he, you know, the monk was telling, he was talking about the effect of this type, you know, the spiritual potency of that type of practice happening. And then the filmmaker asked him, like, well, but what about all the violence in the world and the world wars and all the suffering? It's like, obviously, you know, if it would have such an effect, then why is this still present, right? And then the monk said, like, well, you know, you don't know what the world would have looked like if they wouldn't have been doing that, right?
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, being at a place like this center, there was, I mean, the people there, the vibes were, nobody was questioning the word vibes or vibrations. Everyone at the end was using the word vibrations the whole time. And these are the most scientifically minded people, and because it's undeniable that the vibrations are really significant. And one of the pieces of advice they gave was, when you meditate every day, do it in the same place, so that place will, you'll build good vibrations there at that spot where you meditate. And the metta as well. So then the final piece of the Vipassana retreat is that they teach you metta on the last day, which is the wishing love and kindness. And so that's part of the official technique that you're meant to do if you do it for 1 hour a day, which is that you do the Vipassana, and then at the end you do metta for 10 days, which is wishing good vibes on the world, basically on all beings. You say, may all beings be happy and free from suffering. And I thought they didn't, I've been taught that better from the Tibetan Buddhist center that I go to, where it's, you actually visualize sending like love to people that you know in your life, visualizing them happy, and then you expand that circle out. And that can be really beautiful. But it was basically just chanting, and you were to think like, you know, think the thought that you're sending love to all beings in the universe, and you share the merit of your equanimity, of your Vipassana. So you share the merit and your peace that you've generated in your meditation. You shared with others. You say, share in my peace, so that others can have that.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, 10 out of 10 recommend with Florian. You have to do it. You have to do it, man. You have to do a Vipassana retreat.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice about it, bro.
Can't get around it
You're gonna
anymore.
love it. No, dude. This was one of the best experiences I've had in my life. Most significant. One of the most
Yeah. Amazing.
like
Amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
most
Yeah, I was
beneficial.
also
You know,
thinking. Yeah,
like
thinking. I talked to my dad yesterday, and he was saying like he has a back pain, and he thinks probably has something to do with just being under too much stress at work and other stuff like that. And yeah, I feel for him, and I would love to help him, but I'm not sure what to recommend. Right? Sometimes I think like maybe you should do yoga or get a good massage or something, but maybe actually a meditation technique like this, since that's
yeah,
what you were talking about, release of pain,
yeah,
etc., will be just a thing.
exactly. That's what I heard people talking about that with cases of people who had pains, strong pains, and then
Hmm.
actually there was a girl who told me that she has scoliosis on some degree, like a
Right.
curvature of the spine or something. And
Yeah.
she said that at one point in the day, she no longer felt the pain at a certain point,
Hmm.
and that the next day and after that and the next day, she still didn't feel that pain. So she literally was
Wow.
telling me like, fingers crossed that it doesn't come back,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
actual feeling of the pain. And that's what they
Yeah.
told me. So Sean, the coordinator, who's this amazing guy, this like Cape Townian hippie guy, and like a really great presence, very beautiful guy as a guide, and like has like a grounding presence. So the men and the women are completely segregated as well. Like
Hmm.
the complete segregation. I mean, I went there thinking I'm gonna meet a cool, cute meditation girl or something like that. You don't even see them. You enter the hall from separate sides, and their side is
Mm.
on that side, and your side's
Wow.
on this side. And so you have boundaries, so you can't go to their quarters, and their kitchen is separate, and you enter the hall separately, but you sit next to each other in the meditation. So you totally forget about them. Um, and yeah, but Sean, the coordinator, he told me that he meditates 3 hours a day, 2 hours of Vipassana in the morning, and then another hour of Vipassana as well later on.
Wow.
Um, and he said that he just wakes up and rolls over and does it lying down in his bed, because you can
Mm.
do that. So once you start, he's going because like just observe the sensations all the time. You don't have to do the whole scan. At all moments, you can observe the sensations. And it starts to happen. Like on the drive over here, 2 hour drive, I didn't listen to music much. Like 80% of the time, I had no music because I didn't want to, because I wanted to maintain the vibrations. I wanted to maintain that state. And like music would have put something else in, which is not me. But eventually, I just went back to the driving in silence because I wanted to, because it's not such an alive reality. And there's so much you're not aware of. Um, Oh, and so that was the point, was that Sean said that when you deal with the pain and it goes away, it stays like that. It's continuous in the next meditation. So now you've gotten rid of your knee pain. It's not going to be there in the next meditation because you've done something in the body mind, which has changed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I did. Sorry, I feel like I'm talking a lot. I have so many thoughts. I have so much. So many. Obviously, I haven't talked for 10 days, but yeah, there's so much I could say about it.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. Well, maybe there's more things we can get into at a later point, and yeah, or you do write like you write about it, right? Uh, I'm sure that
Yeah,
would be
I'm going to.
great.
That's what I'm planning on doing.
Nice. So good to hear about it.
Yeah, great to tell you, man. I've been waiting to tell you the whole time. I've still got
Yeah,
so much
yeah,
more. I'm going to tell you again like 3 times everything.
yeah, 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 yeah. Nice. Please do. Yeah, and I'm definitely gonna go sign
Um,
up for a retreat myself at some point later this year.
bro. Yeah,
There's no way around it
you'll
anymore.
love it, man. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the one here in Worcester, it was also phenomenal. Yeah, very, very good. I mean, it's very beautiful, beautiful place. Mountains, you're in the mountains. There's tortoises walking around. There's snakes. People saw snakes.
Hmm.
There's birds, like crazy birds, the most beautiful birds. There's peacocks walking around. There's fig trees. You can eat the figs off the trees. Phenomenal, enchanted, beautiful place. It's too good, man. It was just really blessing, really like a blessing to find this place. And they're starting another retreat on Wednesday. I have half a mind to just go join it again, but I'm not going to though. Yeah.
All right, shall we wrap it up there?
Yeah, I think so.
So to our listeners and viewers, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episodes. And
Thank you
thank
so
you for
much for
sharing
watching.
your story.
Thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. Great to see you,
Nice.
man.